Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of the Clipper faithful. Thank you so much for joining today on June 29th for Clipper's Quarterly State of the Union. I'm joined by Shipyard Software CEO Mark, as well as Tezii, Chief Strategy Officer. I am the head of community, and together we are humble servants for Clipper Decks as well as the community it represents. We have a packed agenda. I'm about to go through it, but I'll start by telling you we'll be taking questions at the end, so post them in hashtag AMA. If your question is appropriate and answered, we'll reward you because Clipper values are knowledge, camaraderie, and playfulness. So asking good questions that promote learning is something that we want to encourage. Before I go through the agenda, and I'll only take a minute or so, I just want to give Mark and Tezii a chance to say hello to the 200 plus people that are in the audience. So go ahead, say hello, and then I'll get through the agenda and put you right back on stage, front and center.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Hello. It's been a little while since we've had a big group community call with a lot of members of the team, and we're really excited to do this regularly going forward. So thanks all for being here, and it's really a pleasure sailing through this journey on the DeFi seas together.
Hey everyone, looking forward to our conversation. Just saying hi from Canada.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tezii. So let me quickly go through the agenda. First, we're going to begin with Mark, who's telling the story of Clipper. As you can imagine, Clipper has grown a lot since July of 2021, and more growth and changes are coming. Mark and Tezii are both going to go into more detail, but we're coming to a new chapter where we move towards greater decentralization and governance. And with that in mind, I want you all to frame today's discussion in the context of Admiral DAO, which is the steward of a fleet of DeFi products, Clipper being one of those projects in the ecosystem. And the mission of the DAO is to put the future of DeFi into the hands of ecosystem contributors like us, as we are all Clipper decks. Then Tezii is going to take the stage and tell about the state of Clipper governance. Right now, our current state of governance is if you have the Clipper crew member role, and you can take a voyage to get that crew member role. I'll talk about that later. You can vote in our Discord. Tezii is going to tell you about how we grow from there and the principle and missions behind that. Then I'll take the stage and tell you about the current happenings, all the fun activities you can participate in, and of course, probably what you're here for, to hear about the adventure, which will be launching in about 5 or 6 short weeks. After that, we'll take some time to answer user questions. Again, post your questions in hashtag AMA. If you're very brave and you like to speak publicly, you're welcome to raise your hand. We'll bring you on stage for voice. And if you stick around then for our goodbyes, I will make sure to do some Matic giveaways to thank all of our wonderful users. 260 people. It is time for Mark to take the stage and tell the story of Clipper. Take it away, Mark.
Thanks, Ben. And hi again, everyone. So Clipper started a couple years ago when me and Abe, who've known each other for about 20 years, sat down and thought about, what are the problems in the crypto space, right? And probably the biggest problem that we saw was that traders and LPs have been getting a really raw deal. There's a lot of yields, right? A lot of times they're very artificial, unsustainable Ponzi yields. And a lot of times LPs are losing more money from impermanent loss than they're actually getting from the yields. And it's just really hard to even know what's happening, right? And the problem is that because it's not sustainable for LPs, it means fees have to be higher for traders, right? And so it ends up being a bad deal for everyone. LPs are often losing money, and traders are paying higher fees than they need to. I'm going to paste a few links along as I go. Ben, in which channel should I paste those?
You can post them. Why don't you post them in main deck, and then I will post them in our chat here, as well as in AMA channel. I'll just spread it widely. And I will also put it up on my screen. So those of you in Discord, there's actually a fun new feature where you can share your screen with the main stage, but it actually caps the users at 300. And we have more than 300. We won't have a big tent. So what I'm currently doing is I'm recording to be posted on YouTube later and sharing the screen. So those, if you want to catch the links, not just in Discord or for our YouTube viewers, will be up on my screen. But to make that short answer even longer, Mark just posted in main deck, and I will post in all the other relevant places as well as put it up on screen. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Ben. So, as a lot of us know, yields don't make a lot of sense, and LPs are losing a lot of money. This thread from @ThinkYouThought is a great summary of what's actually happening. You can see that actually most Uniswap LPs lose money. And the root cause of this is really that most trading volume happens in blue chips, right? ETH, BTC, USDC, etc. But that kind of price formation happens first on centralized exchanges, and then arbitragers bring it on to the blockchain and basically trade against LPs to bring prices into balance. But this ends up screwing the LPs, right? Because they're trading against arbitrageurs. And so DEXs need to charge high fees to make up for these losses, right? And then protocols need to give Ponzi incentives to keep the LPs. And this just can't last forever. And so that's what we really wanted to tackle. So here's what we felt needed to happen to change the space. First, there needed to be the biggest impact possible so that people see how things can be done differently, right? And so Clipper needed to be able to be a top 3 DEX. Second, it needed to have the best experience for traders. That means UX, but it also means lower gas and better prices. And then finally, it needed to have sustainable returns for LPs. So that's what we tried to develop Clipper to solve. And I think at this point, we're there. And that makes this the right point to start decentralizing governance. So I'm going to talk through each of these. First, biggest impact. So there's actually 3 types of tokens that trade in crypto, right? One is stablecoins. Curve dominates this. These tokens are very mean reverting, right? They're meant to be 1-to-1. 1 to USDC is almost always 1 USDT, and they'll come back into balance. That's about 10% of volume. Then there's altcoins. These, the prices kind of change daily, and they don't necessarily come back to where they were the previous day. This is about 20% of trading volume. Uniswap and other CPMMs are really great designs for this. And then there's a third category, and that's blue chip pairs. And we like to call these commodities. They actually, the volatility, right, is high daily, but it returns to the same level most days, right? And so it's the volatility is more than the directional change. And that's 70% of all trading volume, BTC and ETH against stables, and a few others. Right now, this goes through Uniswap and CPMMs, but it's a really bad design and LPs are losing money. This is what Clipper targets, okay? Blue chip pairs are 70% of volume, and Clipper is a more optimal design. Instead of relying on arbitrageurs, it uses a new architecture called a formula market maker that incorporates real-time price feeds from centralized exchanges, can verify them against on-chain oracles, and also has a better formula, which, because it's initially calculated off-chain and then verified on-chain, has lower gas. So what I would suggest is go to clipper.exchange/app/swap and put in $1,000 ETH trade, and you'll see the gas compared to Uniswap. And then you can see how the price compares to Uniswap. Put in, I don't know, $100 trade or a $1,000 trade for ETH USDC or something. And you'll see that execution is actually all in much better. The other thing you can do is go to clipper.exchange /data, and there you can see some of the yields. Right there, pasted in the link. And so you can see on these blue chip pairs, right, the 1 week APY is about 17%, and if you go over to the right, you can see the profit yield, which is basically your gains versus totaling, right? And that's at about 4%. And so LP yields are actually sustainable. And so now we are targeting becoming a top 3 DEX, right? We're tackling that space. Clipper has the best experience for traders, and Clipper has sustainable returns for LPs. And so now's the time to really try to go big, right? And the final thing I think we would acknowledge is that Clipper's battle tested. So there's been about 200,000 traders. There's been 2 million trades. There's a community, that's us, of about 100,000 plus people on Discord. And we are ready to make a big splash into the space. And so I'm excited to start doing that with all of you. I've just pasted a link to a Dune dashboard where you can see some of these stats. Okay, so for Clipper to scale, what it needs now is liquidity. Okay, and here's why you might decide to be a liquidity provider in Clipper. And maybe the way I'll talk about it, this is not investing advice, but this is how I think about it for myself. I take my crypto portfolio and I think about it as, look, 20% can go to altcoins that might, 1,000x. 80% is really in like, wrap Bitcoin and ETH. And I could hodl it, or I could try to time the market and sell into, cash when the markets are high and vice versa when markets are low. Or I can do a rebalancing portfolio. And I think rebalancing is the right way to do things, because they're used everywhere in finance. Right? Like a rebalancing portfolio, you might have heard of like a 60-40 stocks bonds portfolio. That's how most financial advisors will advise people. And there's a lot of Nobel Prize winning research on how a rebalancing portfolio, basically allows you to make money from volatility while the market rises or changes. So you're basically transforming volatility along the way into extra gains. And because volatility is pretty high in crypto, that makes a lot more difference than just staking yield, a few percent from staking ETH or US treasuries. And so it's really a really good risk-adjusted portfolio. And I think about that as the best place to park capital. So that 80% BTC ETH, put in a rebalancing portfolio, and instead of rebalancing that manually, Clipper rebalances that for you daily, making money from volatility along the way. And so we're really excited to share the benchmarking with you today. I'll paste that in main deck. And this actually shows how Clipper LP tracks a daily rebalancing portfolio. And it tracks it almost exactly. Some days it exceeds. And this is just like a really, I think, impressive thing, because there's no other DEX that's accomplished this. So this is, I think, the argument for people to park their capital in Clipper. And if people park their main crypto exposure in Clipper, TVL will rise. And if TVL rises, we'll accomplish the change that we all want to accomplish together. Because ultimately, there shouldn't be just 2 DEXs, right? There shouldn't be just Curve and Uniswap. There should be Curve for stablecoins, Uniswap for altcoins, and Clipper for blue chips. That's not something that any one team can do alone. It can only come from the community, and that's going to mean decentralizing governments. And so I want to hand it over to Angie to explain how we're going to start decentralizing governance today.
Thanks, Mark. So I really enjoyed the overview that you gave, especially with your own personal philosophy around how you think about your portfolio. I like to think about my portfolio in the same way. And so I'm going to kind of talk a bit about governance. It's been very interesting to see governance evolving over the last few years and what that actually means in the terms of a DAO. And I think governance is something that's really tricky and complex to get right, really no matter the industry or the type of content. So whether you're implementing sort of a responsible AI governance at a big Fortune 500 company, or you're literally trying to create a decentralized autonomous organization. What makes it really tricky is that you have to figure out how to get a whole bunch of people around the world to make effective value-adding decisions to the business. And a philosophy that I think we're thinking about that we really strive for is, is it going to be sort of a slowly experimental approach where you're learning as you kind of give power into the holders of the members in the community? And so I think that other organizations that I've seen are looking at it from a spectrum, and perhaps, we want to adopt the same kind of point of view. Really, the important factors being the technical security and maintaining operational efficiency. So, can we accomplish things together faster when we have a bunch of us making decisions? One of the things that we're doing, and we'd love for you guys to keep an eye out, is updating the admiraldow.xyz website. Hopefully, Ben or Mark, you can post that link to the website. Within the next few weeks, we're updating all of the content there and going to introduce a few specific things. First, I'm going to talk a bit about one of the things that we plan to introduce are the DAO principles. So, as I mentioned, decentralization and governance is sort of difficult to get right. And some of the principles that we think are important in terms of designing governance are the following. Power to the doers. What that means is basically members who are actively contributing to building a robust governance system should have some sort of say and direction in what are the value added activities that can make an impact on the business. Decentralization. How are people making decisions, whether it's through proposals and voting or taking a more active role, such as a leadership role in the community and the different products. Another aspect is transparency. So something that we have internally for our organization is transparency. And what that means is the way that we work is we work in open. We tend to communicate very openly within our team, and we're, I think, very open with the community as well in the decisions that we make. And we'd love for that concept of transparency to trickle through in the way that decisions are done, whether it's through creating more proposals, building accountability, and making sure that the people that are actively contributing, we know who these people are. The other aspect that is, I think, quite interesting to sort of figure out is the operational efficiency. So how do you sort of design processes or systems in place where it gives people the opportunity to make a timely and data-driven decision? This could mean things such as having proposals come up on a specific day of the week and then close on a specific day of the week so that people have the time to read, digest, do their own information, and then vote accordingly, rather feeling that they're disorganized or just scattered, or that they constantly need to, check Twitter, check the website to see what's going on. So to reiterate, these principles of power to the doers, decentralization, transparency, and operational efficiency have been very important principles when designing complex governance of a DAO. How are we thinking about this, and how will this actually materialize, and what this might mean for you? So we're going to launch the Clipper LP bylaws. That's going to be published on the admiraldow.xyz website pretty soon. And along with the bylaws, we're going to include future documentation and processes around what it means to participate in governance, the proposal structures, and a few other sort of important concepts. The other thing that I want to mention that's been really interesting about the way that we've been thinking about DAOs compared to how other organizations have done it is that a lot of DAOs use something called the foundation model. And you can look into this, Arbitrum, Optimism, a few other ones. You can sort of look into what that actually means from the way that they're structured. However, we've chosen a different approach with the law that is in the Marshall Islands. It's an LLC, and the difference is that the members can be wallets, which means that the members of the DAO can contribute and vote in a slightly different way than perhaps you would in a foundation model. If you're somebody that's really interested about how these things materialize in the world from a legal perspective, we would very much welcome your feedback and love to have a conversation with you around how you've interpreted those bylaws, what you think that might look like as governance, rolls out within the community. Another thing that I'd like to mention is around how can you participate? So where do you go to vote if there's a proposal? So for anyone that is a Clipper LP holder, so this essentially will be an individual or someone that's deposited LP into the mainnet core pool. They'll essentially have Clipper LP in their wallet. They'll be eligible to vote on proposals, and we plan to use the tool Snapshot. So proposals will be added over the coming weeks for the community to vote. In general, the voting period will start Monday morning, and then close sort of Friday afternoon. The intent is that we have sort of like more consistency around how people propose things. So typically, propose ideas and initiatives on a Monday and then give a voting period to close on a Friday. By creating a more structured suggestion of how this process could work, we're hoping to minimize the anxiety that comes in being part of a DAO. Because I know many of us up here, like, we're all part of different DAOs that we contribute to, and it can be very time consuming. And so that's something that we sort of want to get right. The other way around how you might participate is that you can create proposals to the DAO and vote. Again, as I mentioned, this will happen in Snapshot. That's going to be released very soon. And we'll release a proposal template. So the proposal template essentially will be around helping you figure out what is like the high impact or the value to the business, what is the capacity or resources required. If anyone's ever done kind of design thinking before, very similar to like the concept map, there's this concept template that you can Google for like a business model canvas. And essentially those are prompts to help people think through a potential solution in many different angles. It's very simplified. It's supposed to be engaging and interactive. We want to apply this like human-centered design and creating governance for the most important part of like making it easier for the members. And so members have the time and the headspace to be able to absorb the information. So I'll pause here, and I'm actually going to ask Mark if there's anything else that you feel we should mention in particular about Admiral DAO that perhaps I missed.
That was a phenomenal overview. Thank you, Tezii. That was great. We want to do this step by step. And so first step is implementing the bylaws so that community governance is actually binding, right? Not just a sham, but actually something that is real. And want to get that machine running smoothly so that we can take the next step together from there. So once we put in these bylaws and set up the proposal process, we encourage proposals from you. For now, if you provide liquidity through Clipper and the mainnet pool in particular, that makes you a member, and members can make proposals and vote according to the bylaws. And so the things you want to see, you can propose and vote for, and then those are what will end up getting implemented. So I'm really excited about the structure. I also want to thank mydao.org, which helps DAOs incorporate the Marshall Islands. You should go check them out if you are involved in DAOs that need to incorporate and want to have a similar structure.
Great.
Maybe the final thing I'll say is, I think Tezii was very smart to introduce these principles of governance. And I just want to repeat them once more, which is power to the doers, decentralization, transparency, and operational efficiency. Tezii is a great thinker in behavioral design, and I think you'll see this come through in a lot of how the DAO works.
Thank you so much to Mark and Tezii for giving us the story of Clipper and then also the state of governance. I especially appreciated when Tezii was talking about, as we move on this road, on the spectrum towards more decentralization, we want to make sure it's smooth, that we minimize anxiety, that we're transparent, and that we really do it together and learn together. And I just love that because it maps so well to the Clipper community values of knowledge, camaraderie, and playfulness. We're working together. We're learning. We want to make sure that everyone feels okay with how things are going. And we want it to go smooth. So thank you again to you all. At the end, Tezii was talking about how you can participate when we shift towards these decentralized aspects of the DAO and Clipper being a part of it. I'd like to talk now about what's going on in Clipper right now, how you can participate, and what's coming up in the coming weeks for you all to have fun. So of course, you're here today because we have launched Adventure When Month. You're participating in the first week of that. This was a week of AMAs. We had wonderful external guests. We had Off-Chain Labs. We had Raelion. Today we have the State of the Union. That's the AMA week. We've had hundreds of people show up and ask wonderful questions. Next week, we're starting our design competition. You'll see under the category When Adventure Art, I've just made it public. There are 3 categories where you can submit your art. I'm going to post an announcement with lots of instructions later today. But basically, if you submit art about the Clipper values, which we've talked about the ships and caftans from previous adventures, and the links are in that channel to find out their backstories, or just a freestyle inspiration about artwork, about the adventure coming up, we're going to go through those. We're going to put them up on Twitter to vote, and the finalists will get rewards. And we're hoping to get the winners, who get the most votes on Twitter, to actually publish them in our Shopify merch store so you can wear hoodies, hats, t-shirts, stickers, which shows the wonderful artwork that you prepared. So stay tuned for that announcement. We also have 2 more weeks of activities in Adventure When Month, which is a week of trivia and a week of riddles. And the culmination of those Adventure When is we're going to launch the adventure. So in the first week of August, we will have signups for the adventure. We'll have about a week or 2 of signups. And as you join your team, we'll be doing team building exercises in private channels. And also we'll try and include everyone in the main deck as well to get as many people to join up in the adventure as well. And we hope to have an adventure launch in the middle of August. This is the big one, as you can see on screen. We're launching a lot of stuff. Decentralization. It should be a lot of fun. We've had 30,000 people sign up in the past. We hope to have a similar number sign up this time or more. But what you can do right now, besides the Adventure When Month, is we have what's called evergreen content, stuff that's always there. These are our foundational voyages. You can see them under the Voyages and Quests sub-channel in Discord. We currently have the Beginner's Voyage, which gets you acquainted with the Clipper product, and you should go and take that. Always, you can earn a wonderful NFT, which will be displayed in your profile screen, which we launched in Adventure 3, and we hope to make it public for everyone in Adventure 4. The other voyage that is currently active is the Values and Voting Voyage. That teaches you about Clipper values, which we've mentioned a number of times, and also, if you complete that voyage, you will gain the Clipper crew member role in Discord, which gives you access to the Clipper voting channel, which is our current way of implementing proposals. So we've done stuff like we proposed that we would bring the ARB token into the Clipper core pool on Arbitrum Network, and that was passed resoundingly. So look out for those proposals. That's the way that you can influence the direction of Clipper currently before we pass our bylaws and move towards other manners of decentralization, all coming soon. And we hope to have more voyages in the coming weeks and before the adventure. Okay, we talked about the adventure. We talked about the design competition. What I'd like to do now is every month we put up a community poll, and we'll be closing that today, but I'm going to go over the results of the poll so far. So we have a community poll every month. The June community poll had 2 questions. I'm going to go over those questions and kind of compare them to our April and May community polls. If you go to that community poll channel, you can see write-ups of the past community polls. So peruse those at your leisure. I think the thing that I most want to talk to you about is we have a way which we like to track our customer loyalty, and we want to know how you guys are liking the Clipper community in the Discord server. So that's why it's really important for you to take the community poll. I'm happy to say that from April to May to June, we have had an increase in number of responses to that question, and our score about how we're doing in Clipper has gone up every month. So we hope that that shows you, and you can look at our score in there to see how it's been going up. But we hope it shows you that we're listening to your feedback and we implement those things that you ask for. So, we cleaned up the Discord, we instituted these voyages, we gave you more activities to do, and we hope that you like it. And of course, the big thing that everyone asks for is another adventure, and we have that coming up soon. So, we've talked about what you can do, and now we'd like to turn it over to the community and answer some questions. So one final invitation, go ahead and send us questions in #AMA channel. We have some all ready to go, so I'll queue them up, ask Mark and Tezii, and I will moderate and look for the questions to ask them. I see Mark has posted the bylaws for feedback in the main stage channel. I'll also post them in main deck. Make sure to ask questions. So our first question, this is something that we get, weekly. I'm going to pose it to Mark or Tezii to answer, but it's the when token. And Mark, what's our current answer to when token?
That's a decision that's going to have to be made by the community. It's not something that can be made by one development team. So if that's something that the community proposes and decides to do, then that's something that Admiral Dow can do together. But it's not something that should or would come from us. So I would turn that around on the community and ask them.
Thanks, Mark. So our next question comes from Noman, who asks, Clipper LP holders, can you participate in governance if you're an LP holder on mainnet or from any chain? The answer here is that currently, to obtain the Clipper crew member role and participate in governance, and I believe likely in our next few phases of governance, it's going to be if you are an LP holder on mainnet. Mark or Tezii, if you want to elaborate on why that is, I'm happy to hear it, but that's the way it is right now. Clipper LP on mainnet.
That's right. And part of that is because what matters to Clipper most in becoming a top 3 dex right now is Clipper LP on mainnet. The other reason is it's the highest security chain. And the final reason is just technical limitations. We got to start somewhere, and that's the best way to start. But, whether we open up membership, whether Admiral Dow opens up membership for voting purposes to LPs on other chain is also a thing that you as the community, once your members can vote to propose. So it's not something that has to stay static.
Thanks, Mark. So a question now from Vision24. And we get this question from a lot of people that seem to be excited about ZK Sync Era. They're wondering, when will Clipper launch on ZK Sync Era? And I actually want to give a similar answer to what Mark just gave. This is all up to the community. Of course, Clipper is looking to expand on chains. We like to go onto EVM compatible chains. The devs are hard at work on a lot of things in the pipeline, but for where we go in the future, just as the community proposed to have the ARB coin put in the Clipper core pool, if you want to see Clipper posted and headed towards new networks, that's going to be up to the community to decide and vote. And we will do the Clipper will do the will of the community. Another question comes from, well, let me ask a question that I can toss over.
Maybe one thing I'll add while you come up with the next question is, the reality of proposals is that deciding to do anything takes resources, and doing certain things with limited resources means you can't do other things. And so there's going to be 2 elements to proposals. One is what to do, and the other is how to prioritize them, right? With like a product roadmap. And I think that's also something that the community needs to be able to chime in on and vote for, right? ZKs are like really cool technology, totally makes sense that Clipper should be on those chains and really everywhere. Right. One of the benefits of Clipper is it can have great prices with pretty low liquidity. You can see that on the Optimism, Polygon, or Arbitrum. There's under a million in liquidity, and the prices are very competitive. Again, for these blue chip tokens. So that's something that I think the community can propose, and then also help prioritize when.
Thanks, Mark. So our next question comes from Risky Jambalaya, who asks, is there already an article which can explain rebalancing methodology? And I'm going to take that opportunity to plug blogs.clipper.exchange, or pardon me, no S, blog.clipper.exchange. I'm sharing it up on screen. So you can go there now. I'm going to post the link. But commodity volatility, harvesting, and Clipper benchmark, that explains daily rebalancing portfolio and why Clipper is the best place to park your capital as Clipper does the rebalancing for you. So I'm going to post that. Oh, looks like Mark already got it. Thanks so much. But by all means, please take stock of blog.clipper.exchange. We have really, or Clipper has really wonderful articles kind of explaining the products that come out and empowering you to do your own research. For instance, we talk about the data dashboard that came out, and there's just a wealth of information at blog.clipper.exchange. So I encourage all of our users to stay abreast of the current happenings and learn about the product by going there. Our next question comes from where was this? This comes from Noman, and he asked in Adventure 3, he's noticing that the profiles aren't visible anymore. So your points that you've acquired by completing different tasks like swapping and buying potions, are they going to be used for these points in the future? And Adventure 4, what steps are you taking to reward the users? Will there be financial reward based on pirate rankings like top 10, top 100, or by their activities or points? So to answer the first question, where are your kind of NFTs and all that and your points? Where do all those live? In between Adventure 3 and Adventure 4, we have been working on the profile screen version 2. So we expect to launch that for Adventure 4, which will show not only your activity during previous adventures, but your overall leaderboard. And yes, of course, those that have more activity, we would like to reward them. And of course, we have kind of a kitty of things to give out. But once we are decentralized, it's going to be up to the community to decide how we use Treasury to help people. We can't just give out things willy-nilly. So it'll be up to you to decide how we distribute and allocate with regards to the adventure. I invite people to ask more questions while I look. And if not, I believe there is one more, but if not, I'll allow Mark and Tezii, why don't you have your final words while I look for any final questions, and then I'll let you guys step down from the stage, and I'll thank the audience to do a couple quick giveaways. We can end this stage.
I've just corrected the link to the bylaws. I posted the wrong link, so you should be able to access that now if you haven't already. And you can also just get to it through the Admiral DAO.xyz site. There's a link on the top, governance, and that will take you to the bylaws, so you can read them if you like. And please do give feedback.
There actually were a few more questions. So this is a question we get a lot, Mark or Tezii. I wonder if you could take it. They're wondering about when Clipper could potentially enable cross-chain liquidity provision as well as cross-chain swaps. I know the devs talk about that a lot. Is there anything that we can or want to reveal about that at this time?
I don't know that we're prepared to talk about that at this time, but cross-chain swaps is something I think Clipper is ideally suited for. Again, because there isn't that much liquidity required on each chain, it means that Clipper can launch on lots of chains without worrying about fragmenting its liquidity. And that makes it pretty ideal for cross-chain swaps. So I think as a community, we're going to have to decide, do we prioritize implementing cross-chain swaps, or do we prioritize launching on a bunch of chains first? And the order of that is a decision that we can make together. But I think there's lots of good ways that we can do it.
Thanks, Mark. So the last question I'll turn to, I actually can't find who asked it, but I copied it down. And then we'll say our goodbyes and I'll do some giveaways. One user asks, like, where is the activity on the L2s, and can we do more of that? And I just want to take the moment to say that we are currently doing activities on L2. We've been involved in a number of ecosystem campaign events. There was the Galaxy event on Polygon. There was the Galaxy event on Optimism. Just last month, we had 2 Optimism events, the OP Army hosted by Click Social, as well as the Rabbit Hole Quest, where I believe something like 5,800 swaps in 4 days were done because of that, and something like 3,000 OP was given out as rewards for people doing those activities. And I'll just take a moment to brag that Clipper is a top performer on Optimism. I'm going to link to one of the tweets posted by our the MEN, who's a community leader, brought this to our attention, but we're one of the top dexes with the highest TVL and Optimism, and we are almost always in the list of new users being brought to Optimism. So we are on L2s, and just need to stay tuned in the Discord to see what the activity is. All right, so we had a lot of really nice questions. Let's take this opportunity, Mark and Tezii, to say your final words, and then we can say goodbye and let people get along with their day.
Okay, I can go first. So there's probably like 2 things I'd love for the community to take away based off this call. So the really cool benchmarking page that Mark had posted, I think when you look into sort of the saturated DEX market and you see where Clipper's performance, it's pretty incredible because of the strategy that Clipper took, which is more differentiated in other DEXs. And I think that the market is pretty saturated, which is why this benchmarking page to me is really impressive, in addition to the statistics on like Dune and Token Terminal. So like Clipper DEX being the only profitable DEX out there that's sort of figured out this model of how it can exist is pretty impressive. So I'm always sort of wowed just from like a product perspective to see how amazing this product has turned out over the last few years. And then the second thing is, please stay tuned on the Admiral DAO website. In addition to just looking at the Clipper sections, so probably like main deck or the AMA just in the next few weeks. We would love to have more and more people involved in the way that decisions are made. So that's a sort of final notes from me. Really great chatting with everyone. Hope to see you again.
I think that summarizes it very well. Thank you, Angie. I think it is on first glance, it does seem like a very saturated market. But when you dig a little deeper, it's actually not very saturated at all. There are hundreds of dexes that use largely the same approach and architecture. There's very, very few that do things differently and are tackling it differently. And there's no dex that has not only 0 loss versus rebalancing, which I pasted a link to, and is a metric that Andreessen Horowitz has released as how to judge LP returns. There's no dex that has a 0 loss versus rebalancing, except Clipper, which actually exceeds. And that's why I think it's a good place, at least from my perspective, and again, not investing advice, to park capital, and also why I think Clipper can be a top 3 dex for blue chip tokens alongside Curve and Uniswap. And I'm really excited that we're all going to do that together.
Thank you so much for Mark and Tezii. We will do this together as a community. We will be a top 3 dex, and we'll do it with your help. So thank you for the 400. I think we had almost 500 at our peak. Thanks so much for everyone sticking around, learning about Clipper. It's so fun to be a part of this journey, and it's exciting to do it together. So be in the Discord. Look at admiraldao.xyz for updates. Go to blog.clipper.exchange to learn about the product. Stay in the Discord for announcements, and definitely participate in Adventure When Month, and also make sure to sign up for the adventure. So with that being said, let's thank our audience that stayed so late, and let's do so with some fun giveaways. So Mark and Tezii, you guys can step down if you want. I'm going to do about 3 minutes of giveaways, and then I think we got to get to work, and we're going to head to some meetings in a moment. So head over to #AMA. You don't have to spam the channel. You just have to react to the emoji. I'm going to do 2 quick giveaways with 2 winners each. G Create We'll make it last 30 seconds long. 2 winners. We'll do 10 Matic. Thanks for coming to a wonderful AMA. That is live now. Go ahead, click the emoji button. We got 460 people in the audience. We should probably get as many as 460 entries. Hashtag AMA, I'll put that in the main deck. Go there, click the emoji link, and see if you can't win yourself. Not only did you get knowledge, but let's give ourselves some financial reward as well. We'll do one more giveaway after this, and then we'll say thanks and goodbye. You know what? And I'll answer one more question while I do the second giveaway because I forgot to get to it. You had so many questions, I didn't see them. So our first giveaway winner is going to be Nano and Adam.mahmd. Congratulations to you all. Message me after the call. Make sure to give you a reward. We're going to do one more giveaway right now. We'll make it 25 seconds. We'll do 2 winners. We'll do 10 Matic. AMA is coming to a close. Submit. A bunch of people asked me, this is the question I forgot, how many people are we going to allow to do signups? I noticed the poll. In our last community poll, we talked about how many signups we're going to do. 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000, 35,000, or no cap. The largest answer, I believe, was 20,000. Oh, you know what? I didn't make the giveaway go live. I was talking too much. Let me just go ahead and make it go live right now. 2 winners. 10 Matic, thanks for AMA, and here we go. It should be live now. So 25 seconds from now, you will be able to claim your reward. All you need to do is entry. So, but to answer your question, how many people are going to let into signups? I mean, you guys are saying 20,000. We hit 30,000. We got capped pretty quickly last time. So it's a discussion. Tell us why you think it should be 20. Like, why is 20,000 better than 30,000? We don't just want to pick an arbitrary number. We want to be thoughtful about everything we do. But it's going to be in that 20,000 to 30,000 range and maybe an opportunity to reload. So Nano and it's on streamer mode, so I can't see his name. But I'm going to end the channel. I'm going to message you guys all for your winners. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our talk. 422 people in the audience, 400 and almost 500 at our peak. Lovely to have you all. Adventure, the big one, coming up in August. Make sure to sign up. I'm ending the stage. Have a wonderful day, and bye-bye.